Art and conservation are coming together in a unique way in Northwest Arkansas. Historic Cane Hill is preparing to host their annual stamp exhibition, showcasing wildlife artwork from artists across the country while helping raise money for habitat restoration right here in Arkansas. Amanda joins us now with more. Welcome back.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So what are the quail and turkey conservation stamps, and how do they support conservation in Arkansas?
Yeah, so this is a multi-year project that we've had with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. Historic Cane Hill, issues a national call for art specifically featuring the bobwhite quail and the eastern wild turkey. Now these two birds have to be represented in their natural habitat in Arkansas. They're real sticklers for this, right? Like sometimes if the moss is on the wrong side of the tree, they can be like, you do not win. And so we received more than 100 entries from across the nation. We've narrowed that down to 24 pieces that will be hung in our gallery. We switch out our art in the Historic Cane Hill Gallery about 5 times a year. But the exciting thing this Saturday is that we'll be announcing the grand prize winners for both quail and turkey, that their art will be featured on this year's conservation stamp. Now that conservation stamp is an optional stamp for the public to purchase for $9.50. Both quail and turkey have separate stamps. And since the inception of these voluntary stamps, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission has raised more than $2.7 million to put toward conservation efforts on the lands in Arkansas.
That's amazing. And we're looking at last year's winners, I believe.
Isn't that beautiful? Yes.
This year's are yet to be announced, but look at that beautiful artwork that went on the stamps.
It's absolutely
gorgeous. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, Amanda, you told us the amazing number of funds that you have received, but how have these stamps helped fund habitat work across Arkansas?
Well, I think that is the answer, is that the funds directly benefit. They do, the sustained fires, the use of the planned herbicides and cuttings and that sort of thing to really specifically tailor lands to these birds that are needing help with the habitat.
Because those birds, for a long time, had a huge presence here, and now they've kind of migrated away, and we're trying to get them back.
When I was young, I think we talked about this last year with the quail dinner that we'll have later this year. When I was young, quail was more prevalent, and we would go hunting. My papa would go hunting, and he'd be able to shoot quail, and we'd eat it. But quail have a really specific habitat. They walk through grasses, and so if grasses are too dense or too high, or there's a lot of things that quail just cannot survive. And so these, for example, the course that we're going to offer on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, they're going to walk you through. These are the things that you can change about your property to help bring these birds and give a habitat that's conducive for these birds.
And you have a lot happening there on March 14th. Can you give us the high points? What can people expect if they come out?
Absolutely. So all of these are going to be free events, but I'm going to need you to get a ticket. And at 10 o'clock, it's that educational workshop. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission are going to have some people on hand to talk to you about ways that you specifically can take your land, if you've got some private land, to help with these conservation efforts. Then at 1 o'clock on that same day, this Saturday, we're going to do a tour of a private land. So there's a land in Cane Hill that is individually owned that has agreed to allow people to load up on some trailers and drive through and see firsthand these conservation efforts that have been put into place for a few years now, see how things are being affected, because you've got so many invasive species of grasses and other things to be combating that are all part of the issue of why these birds need some extra help. And then at 3 o'clock on the same day, this Saturday, we're going to have the opening reception in the Cane Hill Gallery and the awards announcement. So hopefully many of the artists that you've been notified if you have gotten a piece into the gallery. There's 24 pieces, 12 each of quail and turkey that'll be hanging. Hopefully several artists will be there, and we'll announce the grand prize winner. That's going to be a $2,500 cash prize, so not too shabby. And then their art will be featured on this stamp.
That's outstanding. And then I know coming up later in the spring, you've got the quail dinner that's happening. So much is happening right now. If people want to keep up with you, what's the best place? What's your website?
Yeah, we have a really active social media, but the website is historiccanehill.ar.org.
Awesome. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us.